Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide
Ladies and gentlemen, for a limited time only, we're limiting time. We could go into it, but we just don't have the time. Anyway, here's Silverline.
And are we live? Welcome.
Oh, yeah.
This is Sidney Williams, and this is the Wednesday night installment of Silverline Live. And we're always happy to be here with you. Happy to be on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and probably a few other outlets in the ether that we don't know about. But anyway, we are here after a couple minutes delay getting started. We're live tonight. And got a good crowd with us of indie comics creators. And you'll be seeing some, hopefully some interesting things to you on screen, some artwork being created. So comics are being created as we speak and while we are speaking. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching us later on demand, if that's how you are partaking. I was going to say that we picked a topic to discuss tonight, and I was going to say we were going to discuss condom, and I realized that's probably going to get us kicked off YouTube again.
What? YouTube? Yeah, they don't like when you talk like that.
Just when we get back on YouTube, just when we get back from being banned on YouTube, if I say that, it will throw us off. So we are going to be talking conventions tonight, conventions, comic conventions, however you want to.
Well, then I need to put these away then.
Yeah. Get those out of here. Get those out of here, Tommy.
Okay, that's okay. I put that stuff up.
Don't want those. We'll be talking about cons, some from fan perspective, some from creator perspective, and hopefully we'll have some insights about how to make a con a good experience if you are a creator and if you are interested in comics and interested in approaching comics creators at their tables from all angles. We will try to cover it tonight. So welcome once again. I am Sidney Williams, and my role at Silverline is as a writer, and I have written for various iterations of SilverlineComics over, we'll say many years, because it is many. I wrote when Silverline was a packager and published things with Caliber Press, Malibu Graphics back in the day, and now Silverline is back and producing new content, and so I'm doing some new writing. I'm also a novelist, and my work has been published by Kensington Books and now by Crossroad Press. If you know Chet Williamson, apparently you can get the writer Chet Williamson. You can message him and get a code for a free audio book of my novel Night Brothers, which Chet narrated. Kind of cool. Chet's a novelist, but also does some narration and is actually a great narrator. So that's out there. And my most recent books are Disciples of the Serpent and Dark Hours. And I have a novelette in a collection called Cat Ladies of the Apocalypse, which I hope you will check out. And there'll be links under us at some point for all that. And Roland Mann, who often hosts and is hosting our Sunday night issue or iteration, and also a Monday night show called One on One with just Roland and one creator. Roland often calls it the Murderer's Row. I think I'm going to call it the Sofa, because we are a virtual talk show sofa here, and Tommy is literally on a sofa.
Oh, that's
so
right.
I'm gonna go down our folks on the sofa, on the virtual sofa here, and let them tell you who they are and what they do for Silverline. And Tommy, we will start with you because we're going to go with the order that you're appearing on my screen anyway.
My name is Thomas Florimonte Jr. Right now, I am currently inking Trumps for Silverline. It's based off of the card game. But other than that, I've been doing comics for, golly, it seems like for over 30 years. Mostly inking, but I do write and draw and color and everything, print, publish, all that kind of stuff. I'm co-owner of the company Kablam, which is a printing company also. We pretty much
preeminent digital comics printer, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're even through all of the COVID stuff, we're still printing away. So it's we're still in business. still doing pretty good. But yeah, right now I'm currently inking Trumps, and we'll be able to see some of the
We'll see
stuff
some of
that I'm
that
drawing.
tonight, and it's not. It is, as Tommy is saying, it's about card trumps, not any other.
That's right.
Going to make for an interesting hashtag someday when that comic is finished, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Tommy, and welcome. And next on my screen is Scott Wakefield, the Silverline publicist and also a creator. So, Scott, welcome, and tell us what you do for Silverline and what you're working on.
Well, I don't have a lot to say because I'm pretty new to all this, but Roland asked me to help because I love what you all have going on with Silverline, and he said, "Hey, we need some publicity help." So I said I can do that, and I've been trying to head up as best I can with getting the word out there. Most recently with the Kickstarter campaign that happened, and trying to line up appearances for all of you creators and so forth. And then I'm currently working on my project that Silverline's going to be publishing called Steam Patriots, and it's a Revolutionary War retelling with a steampunk twist. And my co-creator Rory Boyle, I don't know if he's watching, he's out there. He's helping me write that story, and that'll be coming out in 4 parts. Otherwise, I help out where I can. Did I cover everything?
Sounds good. Yeah. And Steam Patriots sounds really exciting. That's a great idea. So looking forward to seeing that. Next on the sofa is Jeremy Kahn, colorist. Jeremy, fill us in on what you're doing with Silverline and a little of your background.
My name is Jeremy Kahn, and I just recently finished up the colors for the Bloodline comic, which should be kickstarting at some point in the future.
In
right
July,
now.
I believe. In July, so very soon.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
That's news to me too, so that's good to know.
Cool. So we always say Silverline projects are finished before we kickstart because it's just the kickstart is just for the final, the final to get it out to everybody. And we should mention that we have a recently very successful Kickstarter with Twilight Grim and Divinity #1, Twilight Grim #1, Divinity #1, and went through 2 or 3 stretch goals. Just kept going. Very well. Really kind of a powerhouse of a Kickstarter there. Well, next up is John Metych III. We have Tommy Jr. I am a junior also, and John is the third. John is a writer with Silverline, and John, fill us in on what you're up to.
What I'm up to is usually getting emails from Roland saying, "Hey, this is due." So for that, I apologize. I'm a writer and editor at Silverline. I had been self-publishing myself since 1999 with some of my characters, Sniper and Rook, who are right behind me here. And I have brought them into the Silverline fold. And in the back of my mind, as I was creating them in the 90s, they were always really part of that universe, even if they hadn't been yet. Got a couple other projects coming up, Sniper and Rook ongoing through Silverline, a couple different miniseries, as well as a team book that will be spinning out of one of the upcoming miniseries that we will talk about eventually. So,
Cool.
Man, well, good things coming down the road.
Glad to have you with us tonight, John. Thanks.
Glad to be here.
And next on the sofa, as I see it, is Tim TK, the producer and leader of the Silverline Orchestra. Welcome, Tim. Tell us what you do at Silverline.
Well, I was going to say I'm the producer / seducer, but I guess we're not doing that subject anymore. But yes, I am the producer of the Wednesday night show. I am also the associate editor, which just means I take over stuff that Roland doesn't want to do, and help run our Craft series online, which is a monthly blog on how creators make comics. I also help with scheduling and the blog and all that fun stuff. As an editor and other things, I am working on 3 different titles on various roles. Each project has yet to be disclosed, so look forward to that in the future. And I'm most well known for traditional publishing and prose. Well, I sit there, and when we get to paneling, I've actually spent more time on panels as an actor than as a writer, so that'll be my experience.
Hey, well, it'll be an interesting experience. Interesting to hear about those experiences. So cool. Yeah. Next on my screen is Alex, who is muted at the moment. But Alex, penciler, what are you working on there? And tell us what you do at Silverline, Alex.
Well, I'm a pencilist, right? At Silverline Comics. Right now, I'm currently finishing up Cat and Mouse issue 3. This you'll probably see these 3 panels in front of y'all get done this stream. This is page 17, so we're on home stretch, and I don't know if we've announced it either, but hopefully, if everything goes to plan, we're looking to kickstart this around September. So keep your calendars ready for that.
Nice. So more Cat and Mouse coming. Glad to hear it. Alex has been, and it's Alex Gallimore. Alex has been a recruiter for many artists on Silverline projects as well, and Alex is a Kubert School grad, so happy to have him in the Silverline family. And next up, my dais has recalibrated a bit, but anyway, next up is C. Michael Lanning, who we're seeing some work of his on screen now. But welcome, Chris, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with Silverline.
I'm C. Michael Lanning, and I'm also a pencilist for Something Big with Sidney Williams and Becca Winslow inking, and we just got a colorist, so I'm trying to move forward. So, and that's it for right now. So.
Cool, and that's a page from Something Big that
yes.
Chris is working, or C. Michael is working on here. So you will be seeing, and Something Big is one of those that's kind of sort of not disclosed yet, but is in the works, and you will be seeing it take shape. A page from it take shape as we talk tonight. As mentioned, we said we would be talking about conventions tonight, good experiences, bad experiences, best practices for conventions. So we'll get started on that, and hopefully some good information will emerge from our collective experience. And certainly we'll take questions about Silverline projects, comics in general. We've got a lot of talent here. We've got a lot of varied talent. We've got writers. We've got artists that specialize in various areas. So with that in mind, we certainly will welcome questions, and Tim will, I believe, be able to stay on top of getting those to us.
All 3 chats live now. So thank you, Dewani, Amy, Cryptid Ninja, Oven, and John Rowe for chatting with us so early on.
Great. Thanks for having that. Well, I will start by saying, I think the first convention I went to was as a fan with it coincided. It was Creation Con in Houston, Texas, coinciding with Star Trek II. And the Creation Cons were a little bumpy that year. They're supposed to have like Spock show up and be beamed in, and that didn't happen, and different things. But it was still a cool experience for me because there was a dealer's room. First time I'd ever walked in a dealer's room. There were people there in in costume. So I hadn't seen cosplay. They didn't even call it cosplay yet at that time.
It was just folks dressed up in costumes.
Yeah, just people in costumes. But like there was a Batman there. There was a Dr. McCoy there, and I met Caroline Munro, who was making con appearances. She had done, I believe she had done Star Crash by then. She had done The Spy Who Loved Me. And she and her then husband were stumping for a movie that didn't get a wide release called The Last Movie. Although you can find it. It's actually kind of a cool little slasher film with a fan who is kind of the hero, played by Joe Spinell, who was the mic announcer in Rocky. And they had filmed it at cons because it was supposed to be about a movie star. So they used cons, and I got to talk to her husband a lot about making the movie and the headaches of the movie. So it was kind of awe-inspiring for me, my first con experience, and it was several years later before I went as a guest. But goes back a while that I've been around cons and fandom. Who all in the room has been on panels? John, have you been on panels at cons?
No, unfortunately not yet. Usually when I'm at a show, lately I've been flying solo, which we'll talk about with do's and do nots of conventions. So it's usually harder to get away from the table to do any sort of panels.
Yeah. And you know, cons are not as panel oriented these days. Certainly Comic Con is, but a lot of cons are not as panel oriented. But I think it is great if you get to be on a panel, you get to be on a dais, and I've been fortunate enough to do that over the years, and have had a lot of fun doing that. Been on some panels with great people. We'll talk about brushes with celebrities at cons in a little while, but I've been fortunate to be on cons with some great people, and I've been made fun of on panels by some really big names. So I mean, poke gentle fun at me. So that's always fun. Has anyone been a guest and a speaker on a panel besides me? Or
I've done a
Tommy,
few.
you've done.
I've done a few things at film festivals.
Well, the first question I was going to kind of throw out is, what do you think is great panel behavior? What should you strive for when you're on a panel? And Tommy, do you have thoughts on that?
Just try not to take over for the most part. I've been on plenty of panels where you have some of the other mostly I'm on comic panels where there's lots of other artists, of course, and they've been on quite a few where they just completely take over and they don't let anybody else talk. Those are the ones that, and then you can see the other people up there just like, this one guy won't let us say anything, or girl or whomever. Yeah, I'm not mentioning any names, but
specific Marvel employee.
Yeah, this guy did work for Marvel, the one that I'm talking about. But no, I've been on a few where they're just let everybody talk. That's one of the things. You need to get your stuff out, but just don't like me, like I'm rambling on now. Just don't do that.
And I'm letting you. I'm not being a good moderator. I should have cut your mic off 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you should have.
No, but that brings up a good point. Most creators are introverts. I think, because we sit at computers and we pore over tablets and things all day, that's what we're comfortable with. That's why this is our work. And we often are very quiet, and assertiveness is a learned behavior. But I think, anybody thinking about going out to cons, being on panels and everything, needs to practice assertiveness, because you need to be ready to elbow your way in sometimes.
You got to be a salesman.
As much there as are going to be there are going to be people that will walk over you at cons too. I've got a bad behavior experience question too that we'll get to, but yeah, there are always going to be people on the dais that are one up, playing the one up game, or just being gregarious, boisterous, because it gets them noticed. And so if you're a quiet person, then you need to practice so that you can be that too, and get your project out, speak about your project, speak about your ideas. Years and years ago, I was at a CoastCon, and sadly the late John Steakley, who wrote Vampires and Armor, two great, one a horror science fiction, I guess, and one a science fiction novel. John's parents, our father was a used car salesman, I believe. I think C. Dean Anderson told me that once, the novelist C. Dean Anderson. But John was the Toastmaster or whatever, and they introduced me, and the Scary Book was out then. And he said, "Now, what was your book again?" I said, "The Scary Book." He said, "The Scary Book, you say?" And he said, "You got to do this. Keep saying your title or whatever." And I think that's a good thing to remember. If you are on a panel, and especially if you're on a panel with a gregarious person or one of those people like Tommy's talking about that overwhelms. Well, anybody been an audience member at a panel where something like that happened? Any?
I can't say that I've in terms of being an audience at like a Comic-Con or even a publishing convention. There is kind of a noted difference, I feel like, when you get to a collaborative panel where everyone has worked on the same project. For me, it's been on a film panel being as an actor. But I guess if you were to go to when they do these large sort of combined graphic novel panels where they have the project lead and then the artist, the inker, all that other stuff, the creator is always going to get more time. For film, it's director. For graphic novels, probably the lead writer, just because it's always marketed as their creation, despite it being very collaborative.
Very collaborative, yeah.
So there is always that little bit of having to nod your head and work under that while still getting your 2 cents in.
I will. I'll throw out a piece of advice, and I was hoping the name of the author was going to come back to me. And you keep seeing me look this way because I've got a book by him over there somewhere. It's a gentleman that's passed away, but when I had sold my first novel, I had a long conversation on the phone with him, and we were talking about panels and cons and things, and he had just started going to cons, but he said, really, I don't try to say the most profound thing I can come up with on a panel or anything. He said, I try to be funny at least one time so that they remember me. And if you can, have something funny to say, often that's a nice contribution to a panel, break the tension a little bit or whatever. But yeah, great point, Tim, about collaborative panels. That is great when it is your team and you're part of the team. And the whole table is made up of people that worked on the same thing. That's a fun experience. Worst panel experience, Tommy, have you had other than just people talking over you, any other bad
like
bad
a personal thing? It's I've said this many times in these streaming that we're doing here, is I forget people's names a lot. That's my worst thing. I usually keep a little notebook to the side, and even when I go on panels, I will write stuff down, especially if it's a panel where it's not like Tim was talking about, where it's we're trying to push a book, or like if I'm with my business partner and we're talking about Kablam printing, where I don't have to remember anybody's name. But if it's you get up there and they'll go, well, who was your who was some of your influence, who what did you where'd you get your style from, who did you like, and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go, well, it was that Spider-Man book, I forget names. So those are my embarrassing things, is I don't remember people's names. I just, for some reason, unless I talk to you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, even though I may have read 100 of your books, I don't remember names. I've inked people before that have come to the table and they go, hey, Thomas, you inked me on this thing. And I'm like, yeah, who are you? It was issue number 7. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I don't remember the person's name. Those are my embarrassing, the bigger embarrassing things.
As I was forgetting the author's name a while ago, now I have remembered it. It was Rick Alcala.
There you go. So yeah, I would have.
Should have written it down ahead of time. But yeah,
I have to write everything
certainly
down.
Having the names written down of the people that you're on the panel so that you don't go, that's absolutely right, Roland. I think you're Tommy. Yeah,
I know.
Which happens on panels.
Bad.
Happens.
Terrible. It's a lot of you and him and that guy over there and that kind of stuff.
Well,
and I'm getting good friends with these people, and I just can't. I blank on that kind of thing.
You lose it. Well, you lose it when the crowd comes in, when the camera comes on.
I just
whatever.
Blank. I just totally blank.
Yeah.
I don't know what it.
In addition to people being, overly gregarious on panels or self-aggrandizing, because that's, we're there to pimp our work. Of course, everybody's going to be self-aggrandizing, but there can be bad behavior. And I thought I'd tell a story. Is actually, really Silverline related. interestingly, are Silverline adjacent. I was on a panel, and I think this was probably at the Dallas Fantasy Fair years ago, and I was on the panel with several people, and I mentioned, I was going to be doing some comics with Silverline, and this guy next to me goes, "Oh, Silverline, I can tell you some stories about Silverline." I'm going, it's like Roland, and it was Roland, Mitch Bird, and Stephen Butler were always at tables together. I'm going, I know all these guys personally. What stories do you have?
Yeah,
And
this isn't the place.
But he does that. He does that stunt. I'm going, well, what is the deal? And I see him later in the dealer's room, and I catch him. He's going, look, I really got to get somewhere. Yeah, but what do you know about Silverline? I'm writing some projects for him. He goes, oh, Silverline? Oh, maybe I was mistaken. Yeah, now that we're not in front of the crowd, you're mistaken. You wanted to be like this in the know guy and stuff like that. So you do have that kind of that kind of creator out there, which you have to watch for, I think, and be prepared for that kind of thing. And I think maybe turn the tables, put them on the spot. Oh, really? What do you know? In front of this audience, where it would be slander if you if you continue. We all, I think, everybody here has been in a dealer's room at a booth, and that's the other side of things. We had a great conversation one night when Brent was remembering Silverline's table at Daytona Beach a few months back, when you could still have cons and go out to things like cons. And he noted that John did a great at the table pitch for his work. John, what do you try to keep in mind when you're sitting at a table and you have guests and casual observers walking by? What do you try to do to rope them in?
I kind of like you were saying, the introverted type. So in my day job as an educator, teacher me or dean me, assistant dean me, kind of has the go-getter. But even with comic me, I kind of find myself kind of pulling back a little. But what I try to do is remember how I felt on the other side of the table. So if somebody's walking by and I try to get their attention, I don't want to rope them into a 10-minute talk that you could tell they don't want to be in. I definitely always look for the subtle cues, the nonverbals, whether or not they're interested. But now let's get the people that are interested. Short sales pitch. Kind of let them know what the book is about. Sniper and Rook, for example, is an action-adventure comic book. Sniper and Rook work for the U.S. government, doing the missions that only they can do to keep our country safe. Kind of the short pitch. Then one thing that I heard years ago that seems to work pretty well is put the product in the person's hand. If it's in their hand, and if you hand it to them to look at, they're more inclined to flip through and maybe see something that they like. So when I'm giving them the short pitch, I give them a copy of the trade paperback. On the back, which has more of an introduction to the series, 2 paragraphs, something short for them to read, get a little bit more in case I kind of stumble through my pitch. And then that way it can kind of lead to some conversation. So those are kind of some of the things that I do, the plan pitch. The other thing that I also do throw in, if there's anything that I could tell about the person, if they have like a t-shirt that is something similar to a character that appears in my book, or if it would be a similar type of thought, or I also do bring in like media references. So things I've said for Sniper and Rook in the past is like, if you like anything from, Bond to Jason Bourne to Mission Impossible movies, if you like anything from TV's Chuck to Burn Notice, or last season's Whiskey Cavalier, you'd find yourself right at home with Sniper and Rook. So those are a couple of the techniques that I use to get this, to get the people interested and to get a brief idea as to what I have to offer them.
That's a great thought. Observe something about the person, and of course, be aware of the things that are out there in pop culture, in addition to what your you're most focused on or whatever. Of course, there's always, sometimes those moments lead to faux pas. You say, oh, you're a fan of that show? No, I took this off a dead body. This shirt, I just needed something to wear. Inevitably, there are those moments. Roland is much more gregarious than I am, and does much better at, I think, convention booths. Or he did in the past. I guess I'm a little better at it than I used to be. But we would be at tables, and Roland would be the talker and would kind of draw people in. But Roland used to be, come along, have a look. Doesn't cost anything to look. Take a look at our comics. These are our titles. See if you like something here or whatever. Roland would go to the bathroom or whatever, and somebody will walk up, and I go, hi, have a look. Doesn't cost anything to look. I get, you're damn right it doesn't cost anything to look. I can look here for free, buddy. And so it seems like, if you're not an extrovert, it's hard to force it, I think, but can happen. Go ahead.
Just looking up, and it's one of those basics that everybody's, if they're sitting down at their booth, their desk, and they got their face in their phone, and I don't understand that. If you're there to interact with people, even if you are an introvert, you can say hello.
Yeah.
You walk by and they don't even look up. I probably just talking basics everybody knows, but I see it a lot.
No, Scott's right. There's many. I try to teach. I've done many shows, so I try to tell the new folks that when I see them, my friends and stuff, it's like you'll see that they'll have their, I brought my board here. You'll see them doing like this at the, when they're drawing, right? It's like, no, put that board on the table, draw on the table, let people see what you're doing. When you talk to everybody that walks by, just say hi. You don't have to give them the sales pitch necessarily until they stop, but somebody walks by, is looking at you, just say hi, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, what's up? That kind of silliness. I'm real silly with them. So that's what how I draw people in. I'm just and I draw, but I'm real fun with them.
Happily, when a table, a booth, that like we were talking about a collaborative panel, a collaborative booth is great too, because you've got people like Alex drawing. Hopefully, someday see Michael will be at a table with us, and when you have the artists there doing stuff, that helps a lot. I observed that with Silverline years ago at Coast Con and NASF and some of the some of the old cons we used to all go to, but especially Stephen Butler, I think gets up in the morning, picks up a pencil and starts drawing. And so, Stephen at the table was always exciting to have, and certainly would get people walking up, interested, curious.
I think I learned that thing about drawing on the table so people can see you rather than drawing like you're at a, where they can't see what you're doing. Yeah, they need to see what you're.
It's up here. Yeah.
You need to, even though you may not be used to drawing flat like that, but even when I bring my iPad, and I'm drawing on it, I still just leave it flat so people can see what I'm doing. If I don't bring an external display so I can point it at them, I try to let them see what you're doing. They need to, they need a reason to stop.
They're interested. I mean, they may not be specifically comics fans, but chances are they are.
Well, they came to a comic show. You kind of hope they'd be a comic fan a little bit. What else are you? Why'd you come?
Well, they may be there to meet, the Star Trek.
Oh, that's true.
Whoever's on hand.
I've had people come to my booth dressed as, Captain America and Iron Man. I started going to a picture of them and said, "Oh no, I don't like comics."
They said, "Well, you might like this one. Here, let me tell you about this a little bit." You got a second? Let me tell you about my comic.
I feel like
that is one thing, though. Why did you just wander in? Why?
The fans of the movies, not fans of the comics.
Yeah, exactly. And
they meant to go to the cheerleading thing going down the other convention hall, and they went into the wrong place.
That is a fact now, though. That the movies, the movies are kind of overshadowing the origin material a lot. And so many shows are, I think kind of unfortunately, and I'll throw this out. I think unfortunately, fan science fiction comic fan convention in general have been influenced by the old baseball card, pay for the baseball player's autograph events that used to happen. And cons used to be a lot more about panels, and the people would be there, but they would be there for panels, and then you would get an autograph afterwards or whatever. And, now they're photo ops and paid autograph situations, and so it's kind of like
that's
sports
fandom. You said.
What's that?
I said, and that's where the big bucks are.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's
and so what winds up happening, a lot of the folks who may be interested in some of the source material like you were mentioning, they'll go drop a couple $100 for a photo op, and they're wiped out of con cash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's fewer opportunities for them to come and mingle with us and try out new titles.
And that's why I kind of like going to some of the smaller shows or just the store signings more than I do like going to, like San Diego or MegaCon or, some of those big Wizard shows or whatever. They're just so much for, people to buy. People are buying those stupid mystery box. Oh, I shouldn't have said that over there. People are buying the mystery boxes, rather than, it's like.
I mean, the problem I have with these smaller shows are, they don't advertise what the shows are ahead of time. They'll say, we're a comic, whatever convention. You go there.
You got to pick. You can make sure you pick the right ones. But
the problem, there's no way to find out. Like, let's say it's most of the conventions we advertise. They'll advertise a comic convention. They'll have photos online showing comics. You get there, it's basically a flea market.
Yeah, it's a flea market with one WCW wrestler.
There was
one retired wrestler or something. True.
Yeah,
certainly, watching for the good cons to try to get in at or whatever are fun. I do enjoy sitting at booths now, which it used to be in the day when my books were published by Kensington. You kind of had to find somebody, a bookseller that had your titles, and kind of hang out with them. Now it's a little looser. Often creators have their own tables, and I do love getting to meet people, hanging out at cons and just seeing all the people that come by and seeing all the cosplay. At MegaCon a couple of years when I was there was this great Ripley, in like the exoskeleton walker that she fought the xenomorph in and everything. Probably all cardboard, but just a fabulous contest winning suit, and of course different Black Panthers and things coming through because Black Panther was hot that year and all that. But that was a year. And Tim, we had some great pictures of John at cons. If you've got the picture of me at a con, I don't know if it will show up. To the side there, you can see a big glass jar. You can see my books, including Dark Hours and Disciples of the Serpent, available on Amazon. But you can also see a big glass jar. What those are little rubber figures in little gumball type containers. And I was at this con with a writer named Tom Lucas, and Tom had the idea that we would get these little figures, these little tiny little action figures in gumball containers, and have the jar on the table. And what we told people, and it had colorful information. It named all of the different characters, and these are characters that existed solely to be in gumball machines. So they were not, it wasn't Superman or anything, or Batman or any familiar figures, but they were colorful and they had identities and everything. And there were occasionally you would get a special one that was, a unique color or whatever. And so people were interested in them, and we told them, well, here's the deal. These are free, but you have to hear our book pitches before you get to reach in and grab one. And that was a great little gimmick. We had more people stop and talk and hear about our books, and they would frequently buy books because they had, talked to us long enough, heard the pitch longer. And I think it is a lot easier to sell a book at a table talking to people than it is by tweeting a link. Just the fact of life. And so anything you can do to get people talking, like John's talking about, notice what they're wearing, comment on the costume that they're wearing. Anything to rope them in. And Jeremy was.
I tried something fun recently where for my coloring work, I think I mentioned previously where I've been coloring and printing out transparencies, the colors on transparent paper. So I went ahead and got myself a portable light box, and I then put that on my table that makes special illustrations of colors just for the convention, which basically characters people know that I'm not gonna sell, but something to catch their eye so that they'll stop, and once they stop to look at it, I basically have their attention at that point.
That's a great, anything that will get the attention, I think, is great. And great idea there. And probably nominal expense for that light box, and really showcases the work as well.
Hey, Sidney.
Yes.
You
guys,
you threw a
feel free to
out
shout
there.
out. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, like you had said, with the panels, work our way in there. You had said something that actually made me think of a couple things. Also with my table, I try to have different things at different price points for different levels of interest. Long story, years ago, I got a tremendous printing deal that I would never be able to get again. Sorry, Tommy, it wasn't Kablam, it was pre-Kablam. But it was like newsprint. And it was such a great deal. I knew that I could, make really cheap offers to people to try out the book. So the first 5 issues of Sniper and Rook make up the first story arc. And I got the first 2 issues printed so cheaply, inexpensively, that I was able to offer them for $1 a piece for a 24-page book with pinups, 32-page interiors. And I packaged them together, called it 2 books, $2. And I always told the people who would come and buy them, hey, if you want to sample the series, $2 investment, can't go wrong with that. If you like it and you want to come back and get the trade paperback, that's $15. I'll knock $2 off. And you can keep the 2 books, pass them down to your friends, see if they like it. If they come back to get, additional issues, I make them a deal on that too. As you were talking about getting to meet people and know people, there truly is no greater compliment than when somebody returns to your table saying, I just read the first 2 issues, or I read the first 2 issues last night. I need the trade paperback. Could you hook me up? Because that means that they really enjoyed it. They cared about the characters. They liked the art, and enough for them to come back, seek you out to get the rest of the story. That's pretty cool.
That's great. And I think, that's a good point. I think people are open to discovering new things at cons. We're saying, a lot of them are there for the celebs and things. But yeah, they are open to finding, new content and something that's a little different than they're going to find somewhere else. So that's a good thing about being out there at a con.
We spoke about cosplayers earlier, if I can interject. But I feel like there's an unspoken rule that if you take a photo with cosplayers or of cosplayers, they have to check out your booth. It's just something snaps and they have to. Fine loads. Yeah, I go to Rose City since that is my local Comic-Con, and I was there last year. And Critical Role and like other D&D content is huge over here because we're so close to Wizards of the Coast. So Rose City and Emerald City are like 50% comics, 50% D&D stuff because that's what we got is indie publishers and D&D. So every time we get some Critical Role or D&D cosplayers, I'd always snap a photo of them, and they're like, okay, I'll see what you got going on. And as they're looking out, I'll ask them if they got social tags I can tag them in when I upload this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, here's this. I guess I'll get this book. Thanks. Just get a little bit of a quid pro quo, and it is a good feeling when they come back. Like, actually, I really enjoy this. Do you have the rest of the series?
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun to get your picture to hop up and snap your picture with cosplayers too. And I love seeing the cosplayers. Dallas Fantasy Fair used to have great contests, and one of my favorites was one year they introduced like whatever it was going to be more than one person as part of the collective, costume entry. And this guy walks out as the Joker. And it's a couple of years after the Keaton Batman had come out. And so you go, okay, pretty good Joker outfit. Then you hear this machine gun fire and the Joker falls down, and these guys walk out as all of the Dick Tracy villains, because the Warren Beatty Dick Tracy movie was out that year. And so kind of bait and switch with the Joker replaced by Flat Top and all of these really great, really elaborate Dick Tracy costumes. But yeah, that's a good point. They will look at your stuff if you take your picture. And those great Facebook and social media pictures later. When I was a kid, one of my entry points to comics was the Adam West Batman. I'm that old. And at MegaCon a couple of years ago, they had the whole Batman climbing the wall thing set up, which of course it's flat, and then you take the picture and turn it appropriately. But so I got to climb a building with Batman and a guy in a great Adam West Batman costume. And so I was happy to have that, just as, recapturing my childhood there. Well, another thing I thought we would talk about is kind of worst dealer's room experiences. Anybody had any real negatives?
Have you done conventions, or can we just be vague about that?
Yeah, it would.
There's this one convention I went to where they basically put us in a hallway. Right across was where the elevators, behind us was the escalators going up, but you can go up on the escalators and down the elevators. And it's basically the majority of the indie artists were in this hallway, and it's a very narrow one. And so basically, when traffic stopped, you couldn't do anything. And at one point in the day, this cosplayer came by with this giant dress. One of these characters with a giant dress, and she stopped there for a good 5 minutes talking to her friends, and no one could get by. So basically, it's 5 minutes we can't talk to anyone. And it's happened throughout the whole day where people just stop and couldn't do anything.
I don't have a specific experience at a con, but it seems like the trade shows, and I've been to like motorcycle shows and so forth, and I've got a booth set up for my magazine, and you get that guy that talk, and he stands right there, and you're half paying attention. You got one eye on this chatty Cathy, and everybody else is coming along, and they veer in and then around. And the guy doesn't get it. You engage, you talk, you do your pitch or whatever, and then it's just talk. My tactic, and I don't know if it works all the time, but it works for me. I come around the table, and I slowly make him or her creep. I kind of push him along to the side, and then I'll come back around and meet him at the side, so other people can come along to the front of the table. And that person's not blocking the entire table, but it always seems like there's not just one. They're not going to buy anything. They're not going to do it. They just want to talk. And
you appreciate their enthusiasm, but right, ultimately they're bad for business.
You want to be polite, and you try to and you smile and but really when it gets to the point that other people are passing you by because this was one person. And so that tactic I come around and they can stay there. And a lot of times they just stand at the side of the table and keep talking. And I keep the conversation going, but I can engage other people. And usually they'll keep talking when
they'll keep talking and still work a little business in. And you do have that gregarious person, and then you have the shy fan that wishes they could approach, but the gregarious person is talking.
Capitalizing time.
Eventually, I have had them push on up happily, but that very enthusiastic talker can be an issue.
And you got the talker who you swear is going to buy something, how they're talking. You've seen them reach for the wallet multiple times.
Right.
Then they just.
That's the guy that's I'm going to come back later and get it.
You're like, I'm going to come back later.
Coming back.
Exactly.
You're cool.
Don't worry about it. The free thing, it goes in the swag bag, and away they go with the. Thank you.
I like the, I really do like the cosplayer folks, but we had a show in Tampa, Barry Gregory and I, 2 or 3 years ago. And it was one of the bigger shows and that they do in Tampa. And throughout the first day we had one guy was walking by in a Deadpool outfit, but he had a big boombox thing and he was playing it way too loud and he was, jamming as he was going by, and Barry and I were like, "Oh, what is he doing?" And then he would go by, and then eventually 20 minutes later, he would come by and there'd be 2 Deadpools walk by and they're dancing. And then that happened all day. And then about lunch, there was 20 Deadpool guys came by and they stopped in front of us and they jammed for about 20 minutes and they were just all dancing and crazy. There was at least 20 of them. I finally had to get up and go, stop. I love you guys. Go over there. Move. You're great. Love you. You guys are great. Go. And they finally left. But I mean, I swear it was just one.
Move along.
Move along.
It's kind of like, guys, are you going to buy that? Okay, yeah. then step
No, they
on.
stopped the whole traffic for about 20 minutes, and there was like 20 of them just going at it, and they were all just jamming. It was great. I wish I have a picture of it somewhere. I tried to find it to send to for us to watch the video, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where it's at. But I had to run them off. I felt so bad. I'm like, I love you guys. I love you over there. Go over there.
More over there. Move ahead.
I had with a placement with my table was, so one comic I was selling was an all ages kids comic. Okay, family friendly. Now right across from me is this again, nothing about, I had no complaints about cosplayers, where just the placement where they played them was a little weird. Right across from me was this person cosplaying, doing an adult soft porn. Yeah. And he's doing a live shoot too while selling the calendar. I'm trying to sell a little kids comic. So you can see the parents trying to come down with the kids, see that, turn around and just walk off.
Yeah, that's you always get that one booth right next to you that has the more classically attractive cosplayers, and you're sitting there with the one guy in like the wrestling suit. All right.
or you're at your table. Yeah, you're at your table and you're trying to sell your own creator-owned stuff, and and I have worked, for Marvel and DC and done Spider-Man and stuff, and then you have a guy next to you that's never done a comic in their life, selling posters and stuff, and you get somebody and stop in front of you, and they're looking at your stuff, and they go, Spider-Man, and they run over there, and I'm like, I actually did Spider-Man. He didn't do Spider-Man. Come on back to my table. That guy didn't do Spider-Man.
You've read my stuff.
Give me a break.
There's library also. I had a table right next to me was the public library. So I'm selling a book, and the public library is giving away free books.
Jesus. You want free right here, and you're trying to collect money. I have had the kind of the bad hallway work in favor a little bit.
Being in a bad spot.
Yeah, well, Spooky Empire a couple of years ago, we were on a hallway, and it was just a packed Spooky Empire. And Elvira was there in a very long line for Elvira, and there was there were things tweeted about it. There was a Funko Elvira that one pallet of them didn't come in, and bad when that happened.
That was here in town, right?
Yeah, that was in
I think
Orlando.
I remember that one. Yeah.
And but there was a long line, and so they had to stop for like minutes in front of our table. And I wound up selling books while people are standing there waiting in line for something else happily. So
to get the Elvira doll, you gotta buy my book.
Gotta stand here for a while. And,
hey, Sidney.
Oh. Yes, John.
I thought of something from both sides of the table.
No.
So things that affect when you're a fan and younger kind of can affect how you treat your table later on. As a creator. One of the things that's really probably upsetting to me, most people, is when people who are stopping by and looking by start using our table as their backpack.
Yes. Yeah, they'll sit your stuff on your art.
Books. They sort through their stuff on our books, and our books get damaged, our prints get damaged.
Or if you have original art, you get that's some Spider-Man art that you just sat your drink on.
What you
just did?
Yeah, your drippy backpack with the Gatorade in it.
Yeah.
When I put those here and you go, no, you can't put that there. No,
it's almost like you need a sign that says anything put on this table becomes our property.
That's right.
You must buy it back.
Will be confiscated.
Yeah, John is correct. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Can I put this here? You're like,
certainly
no,
qualifies as worst con experiences.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this part though. One time when I was younger, well before I was a creator,
you did that.
There was a dealer. There was a dealer that had like the table full of books, and underneath full of boxes of books. So I was bending down, going through the bottom boxes, and I found like a run of books I was interested in. I picked up the set, and then I brought them up, and I was looking at them on top of the boxes. His books. And he yells at me like, "No, get that off my table. Get that off my boxes." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, sir." So I picked up like the handful of stuff, and I'm sorting through them now in my arms. And he yells at me. He's like, "You can't do that here." I'm like, "These are your books." He like looks at me. He's like, "Oh, they are?"
No, you should have said, "Oh, my bad."
Down there. I'm like, I didn't want to like bend over too much and get dizzy. I'm like, "No, these are yours. I'm not being a douche." He's like, "Oh, I didn't know." Not like it, "I'm sorry." So that's kind of carried over with me because I don't want to be the guy on the other side of the table yelling at the other person because I know how that made me feel, like totally unwanted. But I totally wasn't in the wrong on that one either. So
you should have walked off with those books.
Yeah, you know what? I'll just go somewhere else with
but
them.
I don't have that in me.
Let him figure it out later. Yeah. I think it does. We're kind of talking about the bad side here, but yeah, you do want to be a good host at a table to be certain. Yeah. And I think happily, I think everybody here are really, really pretty nice at
very.
Luckily, I've never had like a bad experience on the artist side, or like I've never felt like I've been a bad host to people at my table, but I have attended what was one of the most depressing conventions, which was a smaller one back in Orlando in the Fashion Square Mall, which for people listening, if you've never been to it, it's one half of it is great. You got like a theater arcade, Coliseum of Comics, there's an anime shop. The other half is a total graveyard. And of course, that was the one side they had the convention on, and everything was circled around 2 escalators, and whoever's putting on decided to also like give away a car at the same time. So you had everyone backed into these like shut down shop fronts with like the full gating in front of everything, and no one had any room, so it was all packed in. And the artist never knew who exactly was at the table, who was trying to get by, or really what was happening at all with the entire event. So we're like, "Are you here to look at this?" No, you're them? Okay, that's great. Have a good day. And that was the entire event. Just everyone packed into a graveyard of a mall.
It's kind of unfortunate when those things happen because everybody is somebody set that up to make a little money, but also because they like the content, they love comics and things, and so you hate to see things go wrong like that. Sunday afternoons often at the end of a 3-day con are often kind of like that. Everything's dragging, everybody's tired by that point.
No one wants to be there.
It's kind of the downside. Yeah.
Talking about the last minutes on Sunday, I've had some of my best sales in the last 5 minutes, or when they're announcing cons close, get the heck out. So I never pack up my table until I have to, because I've had a couple good sales, and I'm like, I'm gonna hold out just in case. I've seen people pack up hours before. They're like, "Oh, it's not been too good today, I'm gonna leave." I'm like, I'm staying.
I try to stick it out to the end too. I mean, of course, the ones that I'm invited to, I feel obligated. I should stay. You should. I mean, if somebody, paid your way or gave you the table or even put you up at a hotel or whatever, then you definitely stay to the bitter end, and you don't bitch and complain about it. You do. You're there to draw. You're a draw. You're supposed to help bring the people into the show. But you don't pack up and leave unless you make a deal with the whoever's brought you in that this Saturday for whatever reason I've got to leave an hour early because I just have to go, and you go if you work something out, but otherwise no, you should
it's good to be a good guest to the people that brought you. That's true. And John's making a good point. We were talking about maybe so much of the money they allotted themselves has gone to an autograph or whatever, but also by that point they know what money they've got left. They know
they may be willing to.
I've got a few bucks. I was going to spend this here. This is not the rent money. This is this I had this in my pocket to spend on comics or whatever, and so I'm going to pick it up. So
I remember at Daytona show a couple of months ago, somebody bought a whole bunch of comic pages from me right at the end of the show. I was packing up. Oh, that was John. You did that. Oh, thanks, John.
It was.
I appreciate that, man.
John's not just a
man,
guy
I
that mans a
appreciate
booth;
having
he's
him.
also a customer.
That's right. Yep.
Well, ask Roland anytime. I have earned the title years ago of #1 Silverline fan. So when he was relaunching, he got in touch with me.
Yeah, you
right
didn't
away.
realize
He's
I still
"You
had
want
had a bunch of those Demon Tail pages.
Some Silverline originals, cool.
Mhm.
cool.
Sure did. You got the last of them.
Speaking from
I
the
love
attendee side of things,
Well, guys, we've talked about celebrities and doing, the signatures and all that, but of course it's fun. I do love being, I don't necessarily have to go up and pay for the autograph. I kind of get a kick out of seeing people in the flesh. You go, oh, he's not nearly as big as he looks on TV or whatever. But I do kind of just, I kind of like just seeing them there dressed down a lot of times. But do we have any favorite brushes with celebrities from cons? Because inevitably there's lots of cool people there and lots of people we're fans of. John?
So this one was awesome. I want to say it was 2006, maybe 2007. Jeff Loeb, big industry writer. His son unfortunately passed away. And DC had done a special issue of Batman Superman and dedicated the money towards, I don't know if it was a scholarship or a medical fund for the disease that Mr. Loeb's son had. I forget which one it was, but they had all-star artists that were doing the art. Different people did different pages, and then they were raffling off the pages live at Wizard World Chicago. And the person that they had coming out in the audience to pass the pages around and show them was Erica Durant from Smallville, who played Lois Lane. And she was so charming and she was so witty as she's walking around the room showing the art, trying to raise money for a very good cause. And at one point she had the art and she kind of runs somewhat quickly, and parts of her anatomy kind of bounced a little. And she rolled with it. She goes, hey, you know what? She goes, if that's going to get some more bids. And then she jumped up and down for a minute. It was just so funny because she was going, hey, fine, cool. I'm in it. I'm trying to raise money for a good cause. That showed such a kind side to her. I usually do not pay for photos with autographs. Several years later, she was at another show and I waited in line to do a photo with her. I was like, you are just an awesome human being. That was a nice conversation. Nice. The other brush, I'm usually the one taking photos, so I don't have any picture proof of this. But it was another Wizard Chicago setting up on one of the early mornings. I want to say it was a Sunday. Neil Adams walks by and just starts talking to us. And we're like, this is awesome, and there were 8 of us at the table. And then he's like, okay, picture time. And we didn't even have to ask. He's just like, picture time. Of course, I'm the one who took the picture, so I'm not in the picture. Unless anybody could Photoshop me in, that'd be great. But that was just so cool of him. It's wow, industry icon, just walking around, stopped by to talk to us, and then just offered for photos. So
everybody cool. Say Ra's al Ghul.
Let's see. On YouTube, John Rowe said that he ran into Lou Ferrigno at a con.
Literally? That'd be a big...
I remember it was a show where he was Barry and I, another show that Barry and I did, that we were going down the elevator.
The co-owner of
Kablam. The co-owner of Kablam, Barry Gregory.
For the show purposes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Barry Gregory. We were coming down the elevator and we were looking, and Lou Ferrigno was sitting in the breakfast area all by himself, just eating there. We were like, we ought to go sit with him. He's just all by himself, sitting over there. It's so fun.
So, Thomas, I had breakfast 2 tables down from Lou Ferrigno one day. He was not alone, so I did not approach him. But I'm like,
no, the guy, he's still a big boy Lou too. Ferrigno. I mean, he's still
eating an English muffin.
I'm lucky enough to we get invited to a show in Pensacola called Pensacon. Weird name for a show in Pensacola. Yeah, and they have when you get invited to that show as a when the show invites you and you're a guest of the show, not just buying a booth and that kind of thing. You're a guest of the show. You get to go down to the green room And that show has a lot of celebrities that they get to come to that show. A lot more than you would think for the area that they've got it in. But it's a pretty big show. But I remember it was, I think, the first or second time that I went to the show, went down into the green room, and I walk in, and the first thing I do is I walk by Worf as he's standing there, and I'm like, that's Worf. As I'm walking, and I walk into the green room, and I turn around, and Uhura was standing there, and a bunch of the Harry Potter people were in there, and a bunch of the Buffy people were standing off to the corner, and I kind of started shaking, and I walked over, and I grabbed my food, and I stopped in the middle room, and I go, I love you guys, and I just walked out. I was so that was so cool to be in a room with all those guys. It was just the fun. They all started laughing their asses at me. But
my story is my brush with celebrity is Nichelle Nichols, Uhura. This was at Nickel City Con, and I think 2016. William Shatner was there, she was there, and there's some others, Stranger Things cast. And I was just hanging out at my buddy Dan's table. He's got a comic called File 13. And he had gone off to the bathroom or something like that. I was just standing there. And Nichelle Nichols is older, and she's in a wheelchair, and she has an assistant. And she just kind of wheeled her in front of the table. And I was surprised. Oh, it's Uhura. And I stood there for a second. It was just very awkward. I was all kinds of awkward. And I just said, hi.
There you go.
She said,
yeah.
Hello.
I know exactly what you did. That's what
and I was
did.
about to say something, and then her assistant came up and just wheeled her away. And that was the awkwardest.
And you just stared straight and went like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. She said, it was kind of a bless your heart moment. But at the same show, I got to meet Bob Layton, and I'm a big Iron Man fan, and I have the poster with all the suits, and Iron Man, he's running, and he signed that for me. He chatted with me for a while. He didn't charge me, and I had the poster, and so, I knew he was there, so I brought the poster. It's not like I walk around with my Bob Layton poster, but yeah, he signed. He was cool. So that's mine. That's my celebrity story.
I've got one more funny. You mentioned wheelchairs. Let me tell you this real quick, and then I won't mention anymore. At a show here in Orlando, we were at the table, and the Firefly, Nathan Fillion, right? Yeah, he was making announcements over the thing, and then all of a sudden you heard an announcement of something like, be careful, Nathan's running around. And then all of a sudden he comes whipping by. He stole somebody's electric wheelchair, and he comes flying by the thing, the aisle in front of us. And then he came back the other way, and he was just screaming and hollering, and he stopped in front of us, and he told us hello, and then he just took off. It was the funniest thing. That was the craziest thing. Love that guy.
When I go to the conventions, I do actually a lot of times go for autographs and such. And I've had some interesting back and forth with some of the people I'm getting autographs from, because what I do is I collect style guides and press kits. And so these are things people don't normally take to get signed. And these are things people working in productions don't normally see themselves. So I've had a lot of people who, like New York Comic Con for the last couple of years, I keep bringing all these Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network style guides with me, because they have Tom Cook, one of these old Hanna-Barbera animators and Simpsons animator there at the show, at the booth. And every year I bring it to him. Every time he sees me, he's got the point where he sees me on site coming towards him, and you can see him sort of like get a little nervous, because apparently he is getting so jealous of every style guide I bring to him every year. He bring him more and more, and he keeps getting more and more jealous. Actually got the point where he gave me his business card, so now whenever I see one for sale, I can go ahead and email him and say, hey, are you interested? I'll sell you this. I basically have his own shop dealer now.
Press kits. You're right. They go out to the media. They don't go to the people with the production.
Wait, I got a lot of fun. Like I had this one press kit for the Kids WB network that I've been getting all the voice actors signed for. And one of my favorite ones was Philomar, voice of Stack Shock. And basically, I took it to a convention, and as soon as he sees it, he takes it, starts flipping through it, and he takes out his cell phone, starts taking pictures. He was just so excited to see it.
Well, I guess I will tell my favorite, and I didn't meet him or anything. I never met him, interestingly. But they used to have, speaking of Sunday nights, at the end of a con, they used to have the dead dog party for the last people that were still hanging around. And this would have been a World Fantasy Convention, I think, that I was at, and there was the dead dog party was going on in the suite, a hotel suite. So, common area, but very packed, very hot. And a writer named Wayne Allen Sally and I were a good friend of mine, and we were sitting on the floor. That was the only place to sit. And people were just packed in, and again, hot, humid, because there's so many people in there. And Robert Bloch walks in with his wife, the creator of Psycho. And Wayne had been on a panel with him at some point, but it was just, totally inspiring to see him walk in, having read his work. And of course, he created this, at least the book that became one of the most iconic movies of all time. And it's one of those moments where you're thinking, Robert Bloch is right there.
Uh-huh.
And it just, it is amazing. And I regret now, because he used to be in a lot of cons, and I never got anything autographed by him. That brings me to another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Last year at Rose City, we had Pauly Shore was one of the featured guests, and as you would imagine, Pauly Shore, I'm guessing he hit a little something beforehand, just walking around very relaxed with his crew. And so he just comes up and super just vibing. Comes up to her table and he's just leafing through things. Like, do we pitch Pauly Shore on these? What was the etiquette when you're dealing with Pauly Shore? And he's like, it's super cool, man. Yeah. He just walks off. I'm like, what just happened?
Kind of surreal.
Yeah.
Pauly Shore from MTV back in the day, and many movies as well.
Biodome.
Biodome. I thought about that.
Biodome.
Yeah. Well, what is, guys? Again, on the fan side of things, I guess, fan side of the table. What's your favorite autograph that you have?
My only is Bob Layton. That's the one. So
cool.
I have mostly music autographs than I do comics.
Yeah. I have a collected set of The Spirit signed by Will Eisner. I was able to get that at Dallas Fantasy Fair back in the day. And there was a guy in front of me, and he had like a million things that he was getting. Somehow they weren't limiting how many things you could take up. So he had, or if they had a rule, he was violating it. And he had like tons of stuff, and it was in plastic sleeves and everything, and it probably, was going to go sell it or whatever. But he realized that I was behind him and I had one item. He goes, "Hey man, go ahead and get that signed." And so stepped up, got Will Eisner to sign the collected work, and was fun to have. And I have, we can't see it from the camera, but I have a picture of The Spirit on my wall. And for many ages, I had a little picture I had that in my office when I was in marketing, and had a little picture of Will Eisner, because I've always loved The Spirit. And something big, we're switching over to Tommy, I think, to see some of Tommy's inking going on. But there is going to be, again, we're not talking a lot about something big, but there is going to be a little homage to The Spirit in that piece, because it's such a noir piece. You can't not tip the hat to The Spirit.
My favorite thing I signed was this thing here, a style guide for Pokemon. I got a whole list of the English voice actors signed inside. Then this is the press kit I was talking about.
Yeah.
I got them signed all the cover and inside too.
I used to be, and I kind of, various moves have taken them away from me, but I used to be a newspaper reporter, and I covered entertainment. And so I used to have a bunch of those, and I had Silence of the Lambs movie press kit, which was a cool one to have. And somewhere I've got a pen That used to be a cool thing that would happen at cons. Is all the buttons for all the current movies would be lying around. Nice one there that Jeremy's got. Some inks coming up from Tommy now. Is this Trump's also, Tommy?
This is a piece that Alex drew. It's the big pinup of everybody.
Oh, okay. It's the do we have a name for that yet? The shared Silverline universe, John?
We call it everybody. No, I don't know what the
Silverline verse or whatever.
In time, yeah. There's a plan for that. Just need to confirm it with Roland to see that he's still on board with it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, great piece of work. We have seen the pencil version of this on previous Silverline lives, so it's kind of nice to see this next stage taking place. Tommy's got the blue lines, of course, set up here, and is really making the various Silverline characters pop. But it is interesting. We do have so many characters in the Silverline under the Silverline umbrella, we'll say, until the official branding is decided.
Do we want to try to go through a roll call of the characters?
Oh Lord,
I don't know if we can. Can try to identify. We can see that Mouse is fully inked there, and Demon is taking.
I'm just kind of jumping around. This is the first thing I
slide over and show though the fun stuff going on with Demon's tail there. Tails, kind of Demon's tails, kind of menacing. Are being noticed by some of the other characters. Brent Larson would have been with us tonight, and if we can scroll over a little bit, we can see the bearded gentleman on the right there is Kalis, I believe.
Scott from Kalis, yeah.
Yeah, and from Kalis, yeah. And so Brent would have been with us if he could. Peter Mantis, one of my characters, is on there somewhere.
He's above Twilight Grim, so it's like right there.
Yeah, there's Mantis on the right, the other bearded gentleman on the right. And my character Kirk Connell in the sunshades there is visible. He is the Marauder.
That's Marauder, right?
Marauder, yeah. as Becca
Marauder, that's right.
As Becca was originally saying, yes.
Hey, Sid, I remember pre-ordering that book originally because of the Stephen Butler cover.
Yeah, and that look for Kirk Connell is based on the Stephen Butler cover. I believe Alex can speak to that, but
yes,
but yeah,
I don't know who is this guy right here.
Marauder #1 cover.
He's from Scarebook. I believe that's Phil.
Oh, is that Phil?
Yeah,
cool.
Phil.
Okay, I didn't realize Phil was on there. So great. Well, and we've been seeing some iterations of Phil Chandler, private investigator, from Something Big that C. Michael Lanning is has been working on tonight. So I did not realize Phil was on there. So
and then the lady from Scarebook's right above him.
That's Crimson. A cursed soul. So cool.
She's smiling.
Happy to see them there. Roland and I were talking about how to fit the Scary Book universe and the Something Big universe into Silverline, and I think we arrived at some ideas.
So who's the character with the big club on his chest? The one that's right here.
That's one of the Trump's characters.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the names of the characters are.
The characters.
I believe it's just one of the aces.
Interesting. It's something that I want to do at some point. Is we have a writer artist crossover panel where the artists tell us what they wish we would tell them in scripts and vice versa. But there was a detail because Something Big is going to be a mystery. There are a lot of details that are important. We were actually having some discussions between C. Michael and Becca and myself this week because many things in the background are incidental in a comic, books and different things, and there was something that really needed to pop, and Becca put up the inked version, and I go, can you retweak this because we really need to see this fact here? And she didn't realize it, and it was one step removed by the time it gets to the inker. Like you're saying, Tommy, you don't know all of the characters. You're bringing these guys to life, but you don't necessarily know sometimes the important plot details and things like that. And so I said, I'm going to send up flares about anything that needs clarification from here on. And
I'm not sure who this guy is.
I gotta say, you draw an amazing demon.
Amazing who? Oh, just in detail?
Just you've nailed the character, his look, his attitude, the nature of him. And so right now you're showing us Silver Dollar from the original Silver Storm and Silver Storm Volume 2. Plans in the works for him. And then next to him, where we see her hair.
Yeah, the iPad's saving,
Tempest.
so I can't move it. Yeah. There it goes.
Stay on target.
Yeah.
Stay on target. Yep, there's good old Tempest.
The one that's top
And
left
then,
Yeah, that's Cray
yep,
above
right there.
them.
There's your guy.
That's,
And then down
Sniper,
below
Rook, and Ripper.
Tempest. Yep, down below Tempest is going to be her gal pal, Rook. And Sniper to her, well, my left of the screen. In front of Sniper, we have, with the skeleton motif, Ripper. Big plans coming up for him. Big plans.
Cool.
And then, Sid, do you want to introduce the young lady with the hat since you had a role in her?
That's actually not that. Well, that's Divinity from Barb Kalberg's creator-owned title and co-written with R.A. Jones. But Divinity is a young lady, and happily, the very successful Kickstarter is about to. The results of that are about to put the Divinity first issue into people's hands. But Divinity is the story of the young lady there who is blessed or cursed with the ability to touch people and heal them. And when she develops this ability, a lot of people, including an evil cabal, want to reach out to her. And so she and her brother, a Marine, have to flee from all of these people. And so, yeah, great iteration of Divinity present there.
We also have someone from the upcoming Kickstarter. We have a character from the Friar Rush book on right above Demon.
Is Seraph present here, or?
It's the writer, main character.
Yeah. Okay. Jake McGlover. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's Jake. Jake
So
McGlover, who is actually the Friar Rush will unfold from the memoirs of Jake McGlover, a young New Orleans journalist, when the story unfolds, and that will be part of the Kickstarter project coming up in July. Friar Rush is a medieval demon, but he is unleashed by a hacker on contemporary New Orleans. And Jake, who is a failed seminarian and now reporter, is the guy that realizes there's a demon present and has nefarious plans for a rock concert from hell that will take place in New Orleans. So many cool characters there.
In front and center, we've got
That's
Champion.
Tiny.
Oh, Tiny in the corner. Yes.
Oh, that's right.
And then front and center, we have Champion, originally dubbed by the media Chicago Champion, a firefighter that was saving people anonymously from a building. Did not seek out glory or fame, but did find his way into some superheroics against his bigger plans. Tommy was inker on Demon's Tales, which co-starred Champion. We will be seeing Champion again. Sniper and Rook have both met Champion at different occasions, and we're totally both psyched to really meet the guy that inspired a lot of the original Silverline heroes from their character's perspective. So
cool.
Yeah, important guy there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, guys, we're been on a while. I had one other question, and it's kind of a speculative question. And since comic books are essentially speculative fiction, I guess a speculative question is worthwhile. What do you think? It's hard to see right now, but what do you think the future of cons is going to be? We certainly can't go to many right now. We don't know what the future holds with COVID. Do you think cons will live on? Anyone?
They'll come back. People may be a little more cautious about shaking hands for a bit. Already shaking hands is kind of getting passe after the popularization of Howie Mandel.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to a digital con this weekend, so I'm actually going to be at home from tomorrow until Monday at a digital conference in online comment sections. I think that it'll rise in popularity, but I don't think anything will really replace the experience of actually meeting people in person and being able to buy a physical object in a convention hall. But I think the way that health procedures in business are already changing, so I imagine health procedures in conventions will probably adjust a little bit as well going forward.
Yeah, a couple are going on, I believe. It's just it's like anything. There's not a coordinated effort, so everybody's doing the best they can. And a couple are going on, and they're cleaning as well as they can. They're, I'm sure, doing distancing and everything. And many have been canceled into next year.
I mean, the way I see it is, this is really just a temporary thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically until, something like, a vaccine or whatever is made.
Vaccine.
It might be a year after that, but at some point, there are going to be conventions again, and things will go back to how they were. It's a matter of the time before that happens is when the adjustments have to be made in between.
Yeah.
Do you think people are...
I've got a theory. You want me to tell you my theory?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I got a crazy theory. I've been saying, because I live in Orlando, and one of the main reason I moved to Orlando is for Disney and the Universal and all that kind of stuff. So my wife does work for Disney, and I've been telling everybody that would listen, the comics conventions are really similar to the Disney parks and everything. It's where the only way that these places can exist, the conventions and Disney parks, is tons of people, right? If there's not a ton of people, these things don't exist. And I've been really worried about what the parks were going to do, what the conventions were going to do. Kablam, mostly deals with printing stuff for conventions, so that directly deals with me also. And so we've been, what's going to happen? But, this week, Universal opened, and Universal Studios opened. And if you go on YouTube and watch some of the videos, they're doing a really, really good job at making it work. I had told everybody, I'm not going, I'm not going to go to the parks. It's just too nuts, with all this going on, wearing masks and stuff. But if you watch these videos, they're making a really good effort to try to keep things clean. They're going around cleaning stuff after people, making people put gel on, making people wear their masks, even if the masks don't even do anything. Who knows, right? We don't know.
Yeah, we keep getting conflicting details.
Yeah, you get crazy details. You don't know, but people are wearing their masks. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So as long as you're wearing your mask and you're doing your social distancing stuff. There's going to be a huge convention this month, sometime this month in Tampa. It's not going to be to the capacity of what they were going to do, but they're still doing it. And Disney is actually opening next month. I think unless something really goes bad. Now I know that the spike of people getting sick has jumped back up, but you can only expect that, being that they're testing more.
Yeah.
And and more people are getting out, and there's dummies and not doing what they're supposed to do. I think it's going to be sooner than later. So that's just my
kind of hopeful,
my
but
thing.
yeah, maybe that's the case. And certainly, I think reasonable people are prepared to take precautions.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna
right. Yeah.
I think people are clamoring for it now. Like,
absolutely.
So there's so much pent up. They want something.
You just got to make sure that we're not doing stupid things.
Yeah,
get out there.
Well, and indeed, we might not have those long lines in front of our booths anymore, but and certainly we may be talking to people standing a few paces back. But hopefully we'll be able to do some of those things in a safe way.
Some might argue that we should have.
My answer that I was going to give before we even got into the COVID world part of it, futures for cons, I see a lot more small and medium-sized conventions.
Yeah, those are easier to do. Way easier to do.
Yeah, they're easier to do, and those are the ones that really feel like conventions of old, where you can talk to the creators, where you could hang out with them, you could learn from them. Yeah. A lot of them have turned, for better or for worse, they've turned more into media conventions that have some comics. But if you really kind of want that feel of the Comic Cons of old, the small and medium size, that's really where it's going to be at.
Yeah, I was going to say, some might argue we should have implemented social distancing earlier, because I have never been sicker than convention crud.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. I mean, people hear how many big conventions that you go to, and then at the end of it, you got a week worth of getting over a cold.
You just feel like you're dying.
Well, I've always in my later years have always been careful to wash my hands a lot at cons.
Oh, I always brought gel to shows. I mean, it embarrassed my wife that I'd sit there and I'd still fist bump and hold it. And as soon as that person walked up, and they're like, she's like, Tommy, they can see you do that. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna get to clean my hands. What do you want?
Yeah, I really hate having colds. So I was before COVID.
Yeah.
I was washing my hands a lot.
On Facebook, Nita Taylor Lanning says, I want autographed arts. Hold up an image you want signed 6 feet away from me and let the magic happen. Just start your autograph.
That's what we need instead of traditional signing pens. We need like laser pens that will let us sign.
You could sign across the room.
Yeah. So we need R&D. Put Silverline R&D to work on that, and come up with the laser pens. Well, guys, we're getting close to 11 here. We started a little late, but still, we've had a nice chat, I think, and hopefully come up with some meaningful ideas about convention life and returning to convention life at some point down the road. And I think there is no substitute for being out there and meeting people and talking about your work and pitching your work and having the elevator pitch, as John was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our next show will be Sunday night at 9 Eastern and much earlier on the West Coast. And Roland will be hosting with a different group of Silverline creators then. And you will get we'll continue with this topic a bit, but get a whole different set of ideas and a different set of Silverline faces. There are now about as many Silverline creators or more than we are seeing characters on Alex's work that is inking right now. So a whole nother stable on Sunday nights. So we hope you will be with us. We hope you will, if you're watching this on YouTube, we hope you will subscribe to the Silverline channel, and whatever social media presence you have, if you will share Silverline's presence with your friends, friends who are comics fans interested in indie comics. We would deeply appreciate that. If you have not found us on Facebook, we have a Facebook presence and a Facebook group. We are on Twitch. If you're watching us anywhere else and you like Twitch, you can find us there. And there will be links to each of the people here on the various pages where you will find us. But we will sign off by letting everybody tell us where they can be found online. Tommy, I'll do the shout outs, and you tell us your social media presence or your website or whatever.
Well, like we said, my name is Thomas Florimonte. Let me duck. There you go. You can see it. Everything is at infernostudios.com, but just look for Florimonte. I'm the only one. If there's another one, let me know so I can see who my cousins are that I don't know exist.
There can only be one.
There's only one. But yeah, it's just Facebook, YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I've got 6 followers now. I need a 7th, so it's Tommy Don't TikTok. So if you want to go there. I'm supposed to be doing a dance since the Kickstarter did $7,000, so I'm supposed to do a pole dance. I think
that was kind of the off menu. That was the off menu stretch goal. Tommy pole dancing.
That's what I got to do that one now. So maybe I'll try to do that this weekend.
That was a hidden menu item.
That's right. But yeah, Florimonte, Florimonte. Look me up.
Do it. And Scott, do you have presence you want to share, pitch?
I do. First, a shout out to John Rowe. He's been commenting on the YouTube side. He's a big supporter of Steam Patriots from the beginning, and he just sent me a good chunk of change. So
nice.
I think his likeness will maybe be drawn into the story or something like that.
You also got
there you go.
SteamPatriots.com is camped somewhere, or what do they call it? Parked. I don't have that, so don't go there. We're on Steam Patriots is on Facebook, and at Steam Patriots is on Instagram, and I try to keep up with that as best I can. And at Mimsmac Art, if you go, you'll see the artist. David Mims is our artist. He's been doing a great job, and so we're getting close to having all of the pages penciled and inked, and then colored by Dan Hosick, who has his comic book File 13.
And cool. Scott, you got a second shout out on YouTube by Roll Airships. He says Scott has the best beard. So now we have a new Silverline rivalry where we have to get Brent out here. And
he's got the best facial hair, best Silverline facial hair.
I can't grow one, so y'all are gonna win.
Inside Secret Royal Airships is Rory Boyle. He's my co-creator. He's my Steam Patriots co-creator, and so thanks, Rory. Love you.
He's a big supporter of the stream as well.
Yeah,
so
he's awesome. Yeah.
Well, Alex is muted and drawing, but Alex, can you
he doesn't know.
Give us a sticky note or speak.
So my Instagram is Alex Gallimore 2. It's AlexGallimore 2. Twitter is the same thing, but 25, and then my Facebook is just my name. I don't have a TikTok because I don't like TikToks. And yeah, so really just go to my Instagram. That's where I post everything, where I post the most, I guess I should say.
Cool. Alex Gallimore again. Search that if you didn't remember the name, the particulars there. Jeremy?
You can find me at Jeremy M. Kahn on Twitter, and I have a YouTube page, AP Joy Paint is the name of that, and I upload coloring videos to that.
Cool. See Michael Lanning.
I think the best place to find me is the artist C. Michael Lanning on Facebook, or just look up my name. And I have a Twitter and Instagram, but that's probably the best place to find me.
Okay, and you'll see some great art examples there. So, Tim?
I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TimTKWriter. Look for kind of a CPYK image of myself from like years ago. I'm also on Twitch at AgroBacon, where I'll be live later tonight. And I'm on TikTok at Tim Doesn't TikTok, where I need to make more content, maybe some dramatic readings of stuff. I don't know. I've been told to voice act more.
I'm hearing pole dancing is fun.
Yeah,
I can also do that. I'll give it a shot.
And John?
You can find me on Facebook at John Metych III, spelled just like it is on the screen right now. As you guys talked about juniors earlier today, as we started, we'll do an outro. There is John Metych IV. So I've got a 15-year-old boy. He's more on the Insta and the TikTok, and I don't TikTok. I will not TikTok, but I'm also on Insta. Facebook, you could find me, John Metych. You could also find facebook.com/beta3comics. That's where you can find out things about Sniper and Rook, Sight and Scope, Ripper, and some of the other characters. And you could also find me on Insta or other social media, usually under the name Cylon0011, Battlestar Galactica fan from back in the day. So CYLON 0011 is my handle on most things.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, look everybody up. And I am Sidney Williams. My website is sidisalive.com. Sid is alive, 3 words all together.com.
Yes, he is.
And I am also at Sidney_Williams on Twitter. And you can find me at Sidney Williams Books on Facebook. And most other places. So just look for me. You can even buy me a cup of coffee online. So if you are so inclined, I do provide editing services on Fiverr as well. So you can find me there as well. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you if you're watching us later on demand in delayed time. And remember, Silverline Live, again, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Roland Mann hosting. And good night.
Good night, everybody.
Join the
Night.
Silverline
Thanks for
Facebook
watching,
group
everyone.
and let us know who you think has the best beard.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
not
working on it.
beard.
I'm working on it.